Welcome. I hope you enjoy the conversation you're about to see between me and another comedian about religion and comedy. These are conversations I'm calling disorganized religion. God bless. And for those atheists out there, may nothing await you after this life.
All right. Well, then let's just hop right in. I'm so excited that you are here and that we are doing this.
I'm so thankful that you're having me, man. I thought of the three people that I know that have podcasts, and I'm like, how many of them will let me be on their show? Cool. I just better call Seth and see.
I love
if
it.
he'll let me do it.
I love it. I'm going to take that 100% as a compliment and not as an insult. Who do I know that is desperate for a guest?
Well,
that's the other way I can take it.
Well, you got the check, right? Or should I Venmo you now?
Right. No. We'll leave that for later. That's fine.
Nice.
All right. Hey, nerds. Welcome to another edition of Disorganized Religion. My name is Seth Lawrence. I'm the host, as always. And this week, I am joined by the fantastic producer extraordinaire, filmmaker extravaganza, and comedian to be in the very near imminent future, Isaac Heckert.
What's up, Seth? Hey, everybody.
How are you, man?
I'm really good, man. It's good to see your face.
Good to see you too.
I looked something up today that you might appreciate. Do you remember when you and I did a crossover episode of our show?
I do. That was like, 10 years ago?
It was March 9th of this year.
Yeah.
And we wore blue gloves. Like we were mocking like it wasn't a big deal. And then literally 3 days later, they shut us down.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, at least we were taking the precautions is the thing. We were ahead of the curve, honestly.
Yeah, we were doctors for the day, blue gloves and everything.
Yeah. So what did you look up? You said you looked up something?
That's what I looked up when we did that episode. And it feels like a couple of years ago.
I know.
But it was just March.
I know. 2020, man. Longest year on the books. I am currently plugging or trying to create a movement. And by trying to create a movement, I mean silently thinking to myself that the new year should not be celebrated until vaccine is distributed en masse.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's when we should start celebrating 2021.
This year should just be on pause. Like it should be December 11th until the vaccine's out, and then we just pick it back up.
That'd be great, and then we could celebrate Christmas under happy times and actually get together with family without murdering them all. It'd be great.
Yeah. Or Hanukkah. Today's Hanukkah. Today's the first day of Hanukkah.
Right. First day of Hanukkah today.
Yeah.
I mean, every holiday would be better, every single one of them.
Today's, I have a daily pop culture podcast. Today's episode, all about Hanukkah.
Oh, that's so fun. Now, is there any Jewish heritage in your line of blood or?
No, not even a little bit, but I wish. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to joining a family of Jewish folks.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how the Jewish faith. I mean, I know it's passed, technically through the mother, right?
Yes, because you can prove that.
Yeah. So I don't know how they deal with. I mean, obviously you could convert, but would you be truly considered Jewish? I don't know. Not ethnically, right?
I think the wife would carry the weight on that one. And
yeah. So you'd have to marry a Jewish girl is what you'd have to do.
That would be a good start. I don't think there'd be a good reason to convert for any. I can't think of another good reason to convert other than wanting
salvation, perhaps.
Well, we have the other half of the Bible too. I mean, it would be a lot less Bible to carry around, just the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think they have other books, right? They have Torah. Which I
was going to say Quran, and that would be very wrong.
Right. Slightly different religion, same general geographical area.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think they have a bunch of interpretations of the Torah that would be potentially a lot.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's a lot to memorize. And I'm not a great singer, so it would be a little weird in church.
Yeah, that part would be very difficult, very different. And Hebrew, you'd probably have to learn or pick up at least a little bit of Hebrew.
Yeah, or you can fake it.
Right. I mean, you could always do
mumble along. If you see me writing, it's just stuff I want to ask you at the end that I don't want to forget about.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. You're already getting ready for what's the deal with Mormons. I love it.
Man, I love asking Mormon questions because it fascinates me.
Yeah, good, good. Well, I mean, I love answering them. There's nothing a comedian loves more than speaking for a whole group of people. What
You
have you been
find
up to since March?
I have been coming to the studio every day for 12 hours a day. I take Sundays off to play video games.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the game of choice?
It was Call of Duty Warzone,
Okay.
but they didn't end it yesterday, but they took off a lot of the reasons to play online. Some of
Oh, how so?
not the- it's like there were these goals or tasks to accomplish every season, quote unquote.
Uh-huh.
And you kind of felt like you had a reason to get on and like make a little progress towards that, and they just
Sure.
pulled it off because they have a new version of the game out that I haven't bought yet.
Oh, so they're trying to push everyone to this new
Yeah,
version.
they want everybody to go play Black Ops instead of
Oh boy, typical capitalist, just ruining it to push you on to the next thing.
you just froze up for just a
Yeah,
second.
I froze. We started talking about capitalists, and
Is it a
my
Windows-based
internet,
machine?
right? My internet was like, no, we can't have any of this anti-capitalist talk.
Your machine censors you on behalf of the government.
Yeah, it's very connected. It's a Windows, very connected. So,
Yeah.
All right. So, game of choice has been Call of Duty Warzone. Yeah. Are you going to move to Black Ops or no? You're going to stick with Warzone?
Maybe. I don't know. I think a lot of people still play online. I'm not as into it as I'm making it sound.
Well, sure. I mean, one day out of the week. Yeah.
I hold on to it because there's a couple of comics that I want to be friends with that play online together, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'll play to you guys. I
Come on.
play, but I suck at it really bad, so I don't know if I would want to be. If they're looking for like an Operation Human Shield kind of thing, then I could do that.
Right.
But, if they're looking to win, they wouldn't want me on their team.
So, as far as enjoyment level, does that, because that's a first-person shooter, right? This Call of Duty. How does it measure up to GoldenEye 64? GoldenEye.
Man, now I know how old you are. It doesn't hold a candle.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Just that with GoldenEye, you're sitting in the room with your buddy.
Right.
And the minute you dominate him or get dominated, you immediately jump up and spike the controller and point in their face and laugh and scream and tell them all the things that are wrong with them. Whereas, the online thing is like, oh, that's cool, I won. Or you're on a microphone on your headset like making fun of 14-year-old kids.
Right.
Using language you probably shouldn't, but you don't think you're going to get caught for.
Well, I mean, the mouths on some of these teenagers, though, on online gaming is unreal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Man, that's hilarious.
Speaking of which, I'm going to try and keep it as clean as I can so you don't have to put out 2 versions of this.
I love it. That's okay. We'll see what happens. I want you to be yourself. You just, you be the Isaac we all love. And
boy, here we go. Just start one phone. It just goes
that'd be great.
37 minutes.
I love it. I'd throw in some rooster sound effects and
I've got some sound effects on my board here if you want to.
Oh, sure.
I got some applause.
How are you this afternoon? Alrighty then.
Just some random stuff.
Oh, speaking of classics.
Yeah.
Come on. That's
a lot of
great.
people don't get that one for some reason.
They must just be too young. I don't know. So, and what is the podcast you've been doing, or what are you doing in the studio every day?
Well, man, we got a lot going on here. So, the show that you were on was called The Safety Meeting. That was my one-on-one hour and a half long, comics, directors, musicians, actors, kind of traditional interview format podcast.
Yep.
And then when it became like a Zoom thing like this, I was like, oh, cool. I'm just going to put that on pause. And then I was producing a show for one of my business partners. She was a tour manager for 20 years in the entertainment world. She went out with Bruno Mars, the Jonas Brothers, Metallica, you name it, like everybody. So she started a podcast called Tales from Seat 4A, which is when she books the whole plane, she chooses for herself to sit in Seat 4A.
Interesting. Now, is that an aisle? No, that's a window.
It's first class, 4th row window seat.
Yeah.
Which that's super fancy. I've sat in it once.
That's
I need to go back.
Infinitely more than I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird. First class feels weird.
Sure.
You can only take it in short chunks. I can't do like
Is it the pretentiousness of it, or why does it feel weird? What do you mean?
It, if I pay for first class,
Uh-huh.
I don't feel like I deserve it.
Okay.
If I get a free upgrade, I act like the world is mine and I'm rich. I'm like,
Got it.
excuse me, first class.
Yeah.
I got to sit in my first class seat now. Get out of my first class way because I'm coming to first class.
What is the general price difference between a first class and an economy seat?
I think the unit of measurement that they use is trillions of dollars.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's in the trillions.
Okay, so I'm not talking about like Spirit Airlines versus British Airways business, you know?
Like yeah, or like.
But it's at least a few hundred, right? It's got to be a few hundred.
Oh yeah, I mean it's significant. Sometimes if you're just going to Vegas, it could be an extra $30.
Yeah.
But did I freeze on you?
Yeah, a little bit, but we got it. So
it's cool. I've got a backup audio here for you.
I love it. I'm turning off the Wi-Fi on my phone. I don't know why my Wi-Fi. Hey, if you have any connections with Spectrum, tell them to get it together because.
Oh yeah. Hey,
man.
Spectrum. Get up.
That is.
Yeah, faster.
Yeah, that is what I'm on, and it struggles sometimes in the evening.
How's that? Is that any better?
It is. It actually got quite a bit better. Thank you.
Yeah, I got like 6 of them in the back here. These guys are slaving.
If I were more famous, I'd just start live tweeting. You know, went out again. Spectrum, AT&T.
Spectrum, about to drop you.
Right. Oh my gosh.
I was gonna ask you if you wanted to go Instagram live while we did this, and I was a little phone up.
Yeah, if you want, go for it.
I mean, why not? Why not build the anticipation and let people wait for this to come out when you want it to be out?
Yeah, they won't even know, until it's out. So this entire, the anticipation is not even known. It's like getting a surprise Christmas, or a surprise gift.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it's coming, right? That's the way
people just see it on their apps and they're going to go, wow, Isaac's on Seth's show again.
Oh my gosh.
Can't wait to skip that.
No, come on. They're going to love to watch it. So I saw you went out of town. What was it now? 2, maybe 3 months ago? You were filming something. You were directing something.
Oh yeah. I just got back from doing a furniture spot in Ohio for a couple weeks.
Got it. So furniture spot, like commercials, or what were you directing out there?
Yeah, for that particular job, I was the first assistant director, which for all intensive purposes, and yes, I said that wrong intentionally. I might as well have been directing. So we're just selling furniture. Basically, furniture commercials are all the same. You put a brand new furniture in a living room, and then you put a baby or a puppy on it, and then you dolly back and forth. Yeah. And if you're really fancy, the puppy runs up and jumps on the couch, licks the baby, and wow, we're selling couches now.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
right.
Yeah. I
love it. That's great.
What have you been doing, man? What's your quarantine like?
Man, so let's see. I guess most of it has just been, at home, taking care of kids, getting them on their daily school, which is Zoom. Here in Los Angeles, Glendale area.
Right.
As far as, what's that?
So you've become a teacher?
Not really. I've become a teacher's assistant. They still have teachers, and their teachers are very involved. Their teachers have been great. And so they have online curriculum, and so they're associated with their class every day. It's just virtual. But I have to facilitate that. My oldest, she's 9. She's very self-sustained, very independent. So she's able to do it sort of all day without me being there to have her jump between homework assignments and class. My middle child, he's only 6 and he needs some guidance. So that's most of my day is juggling our youngest, who is 2, and the middle, who is 6. So facilitating that. Other than that, man, I was in Vegas almost a month ago now. I was in Vegas doing the World Series of Comedy. And
how'd that go? You were out there.
Fun.
Anthony Davis was out there too, wasn't he?
Anthony Davis was out there. He and I were actually on the same show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we competed against each other. Neither of us advanced.
Interesting.
which is fine. My whole goal going out there was to not be beaten by him or man, I can't remember. Camilla Cleese, I think is her name. She's done some stuff at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, kind of has a mega famous dad.
Yeah.
Well, the police empire is far-reaching.
Right. Anyhow, so she's done some stuff with Laugh Factory. So my goal was to not be beaten out by either of them because they definitely have been doing it a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
And it was a really good show. And none of the three of us advanced. So I'm pretending like that is equal, you know?
Yeah.
Because none of us advanced. I'm equal to
That's
them.
a good goal. Let's all lose together.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. How was the COVID stuff while you were there?
I mean, they took pretty good precautions, actually. So the club, they did run it indoors. They were taking everybody's temperature before the shows. Everyone was wearing masks unless they were super crazy, and then they didn't wear a mask once they sat down. But most people, everybody had to have a mask to enter. And then they had everybody spaced out. The club was only I think it was barely at half capacity.
On purpose.
Yeah. On purpose.
What club did you guys do it at?
It was the LA Comedy Club. It's in the Stratosphere Hotel.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was good. It was a good experience. It was my first year doing the World Series of Comedy. Second time performing at that club. Had done so in January, I think, of this year, with the satellite. So with a little mini competition for the World Series of Comedy. So It was good. Vegas crowds are Vegas crowds, man. They are unruly beasts, but a lot of fun. So good experience, and we'll see how next year goes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity in August to film a comedy special for Epics.
Oh, nice.
We did it at DeBell. I'm pointing over like DeBell's like this way. I don't know where DeBell is from here.
Right.
It's
North.
a golf course in Burbank that has an outdoor like wedding venue.
Interesting.
So we spaced the tables 6 feet apart. We had 25 comics over 5 nights.
Yeah.
I got to do the warm up, so I feel like I've got more stage time this year than most years. But
look at that! How was warm up? How did warm up go? That's kind of a different, very similar or related, but different beast. How'd that go?
Well, I had to. I mean, as the stage manager, I had to get up, and basically, it wasn't a crowd. It was like background talent that we hired.
Got it.
We just didn't tell the comics that.
Sure.
So I had to read them the riot act. Like, if you got to go to the bathroom, you got to wait for intermission. If you're going to do this, you got to do that. Eat the food. Don't do this. Laugh all you want. All the rules.
Yeah.
And then I just tried to make that funny. And then if it was stale, I made them do like stretches and yoga and weird sounds. And
nice.
Apparently I made it, but the cut is on Epics.
Okay.
And I don't know anybody that's got Epics, so I don't think I'll ever see it.
Is this a streaming service, Epics?
See, exactly. That's my point. It's a network.
Okay.
That had enough money to shoot a big comedy special.
Yeah.
But no one's ever heard of them. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't had a TV since moving out of my parents' house, just because we don't. I was saying I haven't watched really TV since moving out of my parents' house.
I think I got the point.
Yeah.
No TV. Seth, no TV.
No TV. No TV. I mean, you don't need it, right? With Wi-Fi, Do
you stream TV, or is this are we getting into the religious talks?
No. It has nothing to do with religion. It's more just preference. My wife particularly hated having TV going when she was growing up because it just doesn't end, right? You have to make the choice to turn it off, and that choice can get harder and harder, right? Depending on what's on.
Yeah.
So, and I never particularly cared that much about having a TV. We have a projector and we'll stream, movies through Netflix, Amazon Prime, but not much TV. Like, I don't have necessarily time during the day to just like sit down and watch TV.
Right.
And I think it's been really good for our kids to not have TV just going,
Right.
So yeah, but it has nothing to do with religion, just a preference.
I think it was good for us when we were kids that the TV didn't work half the time. Like, and you had to get up and like actually change the dial.
Right. Oh man. So you had a dial antenna. you have the antennae you need to fix?
We didn't get cable until I was out of high school.
Mm.
And that was a religious choice based on my mom.
Right.
And then she found out there were faith-based movies on like Lifetime and Hallmark. Yeah. And then we've taken her all the way full circle. Now that she's old, the only thing on her streaming apps on her iPad is the Hallmark app. So she just watches the same 4 stories with different characters over and over and over again.
That's hilarious. All right, so I want to get back. Well, let's do, I guess, this way. I want to talk to you about your relationship with stand-up, why you want to do it, and if anything is preventing you from doing it, other than obviously the pandemic. What would that be? But I also want to talk to you about your religious upbringing. And I don't know, now that you've talked about your mom, which one to do first. I think we'll do comedy first. So what's your relationship to stand-up, other than you direct and did this thing for Epics, this famous network that everybody's got and loves?
Yeah.
What's your relationships to stand-up?
Well, here's how it goes. After being behind the camera for 15 years, well, the thing that brought me to Los Angeles in the first place was being in a band. I moved out here with my band. We had a record deal with Atlantic. Yeah. That ended up falling through. Our guy ended up becoming Miley Cyrus's musical director. That's the elevator pitch for all that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What kind of music were you doing?
We were ripping off the Foo Fighters. So we took Foo Fighters songs and we changed the words and put the music backwards and we called it our own.
Wow, that's great. All right.
Yeah, that didn't work out. So we all landed in the film business and we all told each other which lottery are we going to hit first. Are we going to get a record deal or are we going to be able to have careers in the film business? And it all worked out. My singer's now head of music videos at Disney.
Wow.
My drummer owns a advertising agency with 66 people. I ended up becoming a director and assistant director. Yeah. And my other guitar player makes custom guitars for a living for touring musicians.
Well, there you go. Wow.
So
that's crazy.
After all that, 15 years of doing the film business thing, I feel like I missed the opportunity to go on tour, even though I'm on the road for work a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, what's a one-man thing that I could do that could still put me on the road? Yeah. And I've always felt funny. So I was like, oh, comedy, that seems easy.
Right.
So I started reverse engineering it, and it turns out all the comedians had podcasts. So I started a podcast studio.
Sure.
I started to sign shows, and we're developing into a network as a financial vehicle to be able to go out on the road as an opener and not feel like a financial burden to the headliner.
Got it.
Then I didn't know any comics, so I grabbed my camera and I started hitting all the clubs. That's how we met.
Right.
And I was making friends with comics through photography.
Yeah.
I met all the managers of all the clubs, and I met mega famous comedians like yourself.
Sure.
And Anthony Davis, who now has a special on Amazon.
Yeah, he's been crushing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just put him in something the other day as a spoof for like an alt cut for this web series that I'm working on. But it didn't make it. The executives cut him out, but we still got to play.
Yeah, that's great. All experience is good experience.
Yeah. So all that to say, when it came time to actually like get on the mic and do comedy, it's a vastly different experience.
Right.
Than because at work, I get a microphone and 2 speakers and I get to call rolls and cuts and I'm talking in front of 100 people. So I'm like, how hard can it be? Yeah. I'm going to take this over to the stage and these people paid money to sit here and laugh instead of like trying to make my crew laugh. It's got to be easier.
Yeah, right. Of course.
But apparently there's this whole thing where you have to like write down prepared thoughts and like put them in a structure and like order them with punchlines are a thing. Apparently you need to be those.
Yeah, you got to have a setup punch.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's a whole strategy to it that I got slapped in the face with when I attempted it the first time.
Yeah. How did that go? How did that first time go?
The first mic I did great on my first mic.
Yeah.
I was like, it was at Bert's.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
I photographed all the hosts for Rachel and then she was like, just come to a spot. So I came, did a spot. I think I ended up leaving a minute early, but I was like, oh, these 2 thoughts I wanted to get out.
Sure.
And it did great.
Yeah.
And then
perfect. So you felt on top of the world.
I was like, this really is easy. Yeah. This is gonna be so amazing. And then 2 weeks later, my buddy was like, we want to see it. Let's go. So we went to Man, remembering the names of some of the clubs that are no longer with us is tough now. The Sycamore Tavern, they had a night downstairs.
Yep.
And a couple of my buddies, maybe we go up, and I just ate it. I mean, I just ate it.
That's a tough room, though.
Yeah, well, they were the only two in there listening to me.
Yeah, that was a really tough room because it was so big. I mean, it was spread out because it's really just the bottom floor of a restaurant or, a bar.
Yeah.
So it's really spread out and awkward because there's that aisle where people can sit not facing you, know, because it's booth seating.
Yeah. Have you ever been upstairs? Did you ever play upstairs?
I never played upstairs. No.
That's where I did my birthday. I produced a show for myself for my birthday.
Yeah.
And I wore a suit and I got all ready and then didn't really write anything until the week before.
Sure.
And then I was like, I'm not prepared. So I had two writers come into the studio for a week and help me run bits.
Yeah.
And of course, the minute I get up there, I hosted the show. So do a bit, bring another comic up, do another bit.
Yeah.
Bomb comic, bomb comic, bomb comic, bomb comic.
Yeah.
And then finally show's over, but I still rented the room for the night. And that sounds baller, but I got a really, really great deal because I'd been shooting photography there for a while.
Got it. Yeah.
And
that's a good room upstairs, right? That's
not bad.
Legit club.
75 heads. Yeah, 75 heads.
Yeah.
And I think we put 40 or 50 in it for my birthday.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I knew no one would show up if I charged a cover, so I just rented the room and got a great discount from Trevor.
Yeah.
But once it was all over, I sat on the stool and it's just my friend. So I was like, hey, does anybody have a story that they want me to tell? And then people were like, oh, tell the so-and-so story. And that went amazing.
Yeah.
That's when I really caught the bug and I was like, oh, I guess I'm a story dude.
Yeah. That's helpful to know.
Yeah. So that got the whole podcast thing going. We did 60 episodes of the safety meeting, put that on pause in June. And then I started a daily pop culture podcast in August. And today
right when you said today. So started a pop culture podcast. Today
we released our 100th episode.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah.
100.
It's easy to get to 100 if you do 5 a week. It's insane. It's so much work to try and keep it up. It's only 15 minutes a day. It comes out at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Sure. Oh, that's so fun. So you're just talking about pop culture daily events.
Yeah. My co-host picks a topic. I don't know what it is. So
who's your co-host?
My friend Misty Roberts, who was the tour manager I was speaking about earlier.
Got it.
We have desks that are 21 feet apart here in studio.
Yeah.
And we record all 5 at once a week. And it's been a lot of fun. And that is what I was begging and pleading with you to come on your show.
I love it.
Here comes the plug. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Christmas Eve, if you don't have anything to do, we are going live on Facebook and YouTube, and we are going to watch Home Alone with anybody that needs something to do on Christmas Eve.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
The kids love Home Alone.
Yeah, tune in.
Christmas Eve. What time? What time are you doing this?
It's going to be 5:30 Pacific time, so it's 8:30 for the East Coast. We got a lot of East Coast friends because we're both from back in the East.
Yeah.
So we're going to do about 30 minutes of giving gifts, and I think I'm going to have a couple of musical guests pre-recorded. So I'm going to try and make it like a big Dolly Parton's Christmas,
Yeah. Oh, that's such a fun idea. That's great.
Yeah. That's what I'm here, trying to get the word out about that.
Love it. Christmas Eve, Facebook Live. Do they go to your Facebook page or is there?
You can hit me on all my socials. I'm at Isaac Heckert on Instagram, Twitter. It's Isaac Heckert on Facebook. It's Isaac Heckert or The Safety Meeting on YouTube, and it's Misty and Ike everywhere. So Misty and Ike on all the platforms.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know. Did that come in on your end, that awful sound?
No. Did it sound like a UFO?
A little bit.
No, I definitely didn't hear it.
Hey. Good.
Well, I appreciate that plug, man.
Absolutely. So they'll find you on your socials. You'll post it through your personal web pages.
Yes. It's going to be obnoxious. We got from the time this is being taped, we have a little over a week or two to get the word out. So
no, that's good. I'm going to try to get this all edited out this weekend so that people have ample notice.
That is the turnaround that the people, that's the people giving the people what they want right there.
That's what they need. I have unfortunately taken a hiatus with the breaks Thanksgiving, I've just been so busy these last few weeks, but
Yeah.
we need to get back into it. End 2020 as strong as we began, as
Yeah.
hopeful as we began.
What episode is this?
This would be 33.
And so you've been at it for like almost a year.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, this is technically the second year. So it's really the 33rd episode in what I'm calling the second season.
Okay.
So 33rd of 2020. In 2019, we did, I think, 25 episodes, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So,
And did you add video? Did you already have video, or did you add video via Zoom a la the pandemic?
Yeah, Zoom has come because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally we did have video. I was streaming it with my buddy Travis Clyburn at Fourth Wall. He was the on-air producer. And,
right.
Yeah. So he would put it all together. It sounded fantastic, looked great. And then the pandemic hit. We couldn't really meet anymore in his studio space that he had. So
Yeah. That is a block and a half from where I live.
no kidding.
Well, if you're going to the one in the valley.
Right. So he actually moved out of, are you thinking of Fourth Wall?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he moved out of Fourth Wall and found he was using a buddy's, a special effects studio is what he was using.
Wow.
Yeah. Near the end of 2019. So he did a couple, I think maybe one or two, I think it was just one episode out of there before pandemic hit.
Yeah. He used to do Pete Saval's podcast.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Nice, great.
And then I did a few for Pete, and then Pete moved on.
Yeah, I had to go back to Utah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think he might be back in LA now, but he went to Utah for a good while.
Interesting.
Yeah, he might be back.
Good old
I
Pete.
need to touch base with Pete. I want to talk to Pete because he grew up in Utah, not a member of the Latter-day Saint faith. So I'm really interested what his experience was. Really interested with what
Totally
his
froze.
experience
You're back.
was.
There you are.
Yeah. What his experience was, growing up, pressured to convert potentially very frequently in Salt Lake. So, all right. So your thing was stand up. Oh yeah, go
I
ahead.
hate to talk about him because he's not here, but I was going to keep talking about Pete, but we can keep talking about me. That's cool.
I mean, what was your final word on Pete? You said you didn't want to talk about him because he wasn't here.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it would be interesting that if his parents weren't part of LDS, is that the right nomenclature? LDS?
I mean, there's always a push from our church every few years to really say the full name, which is Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
But who's got the time?
It's so long. And so what they want us to focus on is obviously Jesus Christ. Fair enough. That's great. But most people, when you say, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ, they say, what church is that? What are you talking about?
Right. They're like me too. Also.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
So then,
myself.
so then it's like, well, LDS or Mormon, and people always get Mormon. They'll sometimes get LDS depending on, their exposure to the faith. So, what can you do about a nickname? What can you do?
The thing about nicknames is that they aren't, you don't decide what it is. People give you a nickname. They assign it to you.
Right.
So.
Right. You just have to embrace it.
That's right.
And move on, I guess. So anyway,
yeah,
the correct, I suppose to be truly correct, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, full name. We are encouraged to abbreviate ourselves with the Church of Jesus Christ, but most people outside of the faith have no idea what that is.
So has it been a recent push to drop the Latter-day Saints?
I mean, as far as, in nickname or shortened speech. So our current prophet is Russell M. Nelson. He has made a push to go with Church of Jesus Christ or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The last prophet to do that, I'm trying to remember, it seems like it's sort of every few years. So Gordon B. Hinckley was the prophet when I was growing up, kind of in my adolescence. And he also made a push to refocus us with the public on the Christianity side of our faith, right? So the issue that most leaders have with the nickname is that it cuts out Jesus Christ. so that then people are like, are you Christian or are you not Christian? Or rather, they just assume we're not Christian because we talk about this Mormon dude, or we talk about being Latter-day Saints, which is a little bit ambiguous to people.
Right.
And it's been, my experience has been, it's been a push sort of every few years we get this, let's do it. Let's do it.
You get a new marketing campaign every couple of years.
Yeah. That's it.
Can I throw in one of my
You want to hit one of your questions now?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do one question, then I want to talk about your religious background. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah. How are you guys doing church now through COVID?
Oh, great question. We have been doing it at home.
Okay.
So
like that on Zoom or streaming and stuff?
No. So I guess I'll put it this way. In the initial lockdown in Los Angeles, the leader of our congregation, which is called a bishop, he has, the authority basically to tell all of the members how, he presides over sacrament, right? So this is the bread and water. For most churches, it's wine, the Eucharist, if you're of the Catholic persuasion. So our bishop has the authority to administer or oversee the distribution of the sacrament. Okay. That's usually done in our church meetings. When the pandemic hit, he gave permission to all worthy priesthood holders that had the authority to, that is the Melchizedek priesthood. So the ability to bless and pass the sacrament if we were in church, to do so for their families. So I have been blessing and administering the sacrament for my family. So we do church at home.
That is ringing a bell. I feel like we may have touched on that last time we were here.
Yeah, it might have been something that we were talking about getting into.
Yeah, like
how really sure how that was going to work out, but that's how it's worked out. Is and as because initially it was like, well, this is going to be 2 months, or this is going to be 1 month of lockdown, and then we'll all be back, and no big deal, right?
Yeah.
And then when it started getting like, oh no, this is going to be a year. My congregation here has talked and has started doing outdoor meetings that are optional. So it's like, if you want to come, go for it. But you still have the ability, sort of the permission from the bishop to do sacrament at your house.
Yeah.
We have 3 kids, one of whom is a the terrible 2 phase. We don't really want to take her to church because even though it's outdoor, she's not going to stay seated. No. She's going to want to run around. And so we've just decided it's going to be easier just to stay at home. So we've stayed at home.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's how we've been doing church. How did you do church growing up? I mean, what was your religious experience?
We were like the all church all the time kind of deal.
Oh, okay. So very into it.
The folks were super into it. So it was Sunday school and church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Go home, chill out, football. And then church at night, Sunday night again. So it was youth group and then church at night on Sunday. And then we would hit the Wednesday night service.
Sure.
Any special holidays, we'd be hitting those on Fridays.
Yeah.
Saturdays, whatever that would hit. And then from 3rd grade to 8th grade, I was also in a private Christian school. So I was hitting chapel at 10 a.m. every morning. Wow. So for a while, I was getting 9 doses of church a week.
That's a lot. And what denomination were you?
It is called.
Are you? Yeah.
We have similar branding issues, you and I, as far as religion goes. The denomination that I was a part of was called the Christian and Missionary Alliance.
Okay.
And their fundamental goal was to raise missionaries and send them to the field.
Got it.
So each church's youth pastor, after 4 years of being their youth pastor, would go and get language training and then go off to a country and serve indefinitely in Russia or South America or wherever their chosen field.
Gotcha. So is that, I mean, as far as like Catholic, Protestant, I'm assuming you're Protestant, or are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It would fall under Protestant. It would be like a stepsister of like Baptists, but not as strict.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say Lutheran because I don't know what that means.
Sure. Well, Lutheran, right? I think comes from the grievances that Luther had against the Catholic faith. So yeah. I think
they're pretty strict still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not strict, but also, we were still singing like old school hymns in the late 90s before we got into that power pop Christian rock thing in like the early 2000s. We caught on late, I think.
Got it. Okay. So what was a typical service be for you? Is that like an hour with a pastor who's teaching and then you do sacrament, or?
Well, church as a kid was super awesome when I was like until about 12, because our pastor was a missionary in Vietnam, and he was tipping towards the old scales a little bit.
Okay.
So sometimes he would go off on war tangents.
Yeah.
And he was like, so we were in the jungle.
And he served.
Yeah.
He was a Vietnam vet.
He was a missionary to Vietnam attached to a unit. He wasn't like in the service.
Okay.
But he was there voluntarily during the war to serve the military, but not in an official U.S. capacity.
Not enlisted, but yeah. Okay. Got it.
So he would just tell the craziest stories.
Man.
And sometimes he would trail off a little bit, and someone would have to be like, oh yeah, where am I? Yeah. So
got it. And would otherwise, I mean, when he was on track, other than the Vietnam stories, biblical, Old Testament, New Testament?
Yeah, full boat, both. I think he might have had a preference for like the Old Testament and the epicness of those stories, mixed with like the four Gospels. I think he didn't really stray into Revelations a whole lot. He didn't go fire and brimstone on anybody.
Right.
If I had to equate him to anybody as far as personality and like just presence, he's very close to Billy Graham.
Oh, okay.
Just everything is always Jesus minded all the time, no matter what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or if you invite him over to your house to watch the sports, he's like, man, Jesus really blessed them today. Like everything has that.
Yeah. It's all coming from God. It's all leading us to God.
Yeah. It felt like all he drank was holy water, like all the time, even though we don't do the holy water thing. It was just like, he just exuded it.
Got it. So your sacrament or Eucharist, you do every week?
No, once a month.
Once a month.
We called it, what do we call it? We have a word for it.
Communion?
Yep. Yeah, nailed it.
That's
what we did. And we did grape juice and crackers.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
And it got passed around. This always blew my mind. In fancier trays than the offering trays, right? So
for the money.
Yeah. So the money was like these beautiful polished wood bowls with like a velvet bottom. And then when we did communion, they would pass around these like very high polished silver.
Oh.
We didn't get up and go to the front, like Catholics all go to the priest.
Right.
We just passed them up and down the aisleway.
Yeah, that's the way we do it.
Yeah. And it's just all those holes drilled with little shot glasses. And I remember going like, don't spill it, don't spill it, don't spill it, don't spill it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when you're a kid and your dad doesn't just pass it over your lap. It's like, okay, can you pass this along? So
can you take the weight of our Savior's blood?
There's a couple gallons in here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was just talking to someone yesterday. It's funny that you said the weight of our Savior's blood because I was riding in the car with a non-religious friend and he's having a hard time through COVID. And I was like, well, have you tried Jesus? Like half as a joke. I generally don't like to make blasphemous jokes, but I was kind of just testing the waters to see where he'd be at with it. Right. And he was like, man, at this point, I'll try anything. And I was like, well, have you been washed in the blood of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? And he had never heard that phrase before. And he's like, are you talking about like taking a shower in blood right now? And I was like, that's my biggest problem with Christianity in general is that main phrase.
Sure.
Saying that to a stranger who's never had a day in church will freak them out.
Yeah, as it should. If you're really listening to it, it's
unless you're into death metal, that phrase should just be off limits.
Right. I mean, it is very heavily symbolic. So unless it's really been, put into your mentality as symbolic, yeah, it's an incredibly jarring phrase.
Yeah. Do you
I mean,
guys have something like that? A little bloodline?
I mean, we will no. I mean, we don't talk about it in that sense, I guess, is really the way I'll put it. There are definitely scriptures that talk about it that way.
Sure.
We believe in the New Testament, and there's language like that in the Old Testament, New Testament, and Book of Mormon, and Doctrine and Covenants. So in all of our main books of scripture, yeah, that language is there. But we would usually refer to that, I mean, the only time I ever really used that phrase was as a teenager, making a blasphemous joke,
Yeah.
or arguably blasphemous, I guess. Typically, no, like when I served my mission, I never used that phrase with someone that we were teaching. It was always just, do you want to be baptized? Do you want to be baptized and become a member of our faith? That was the ask.
Do you guys do special baptism stuff? Like, what's your baptism like?
So we believe in baptism by immersion. So it's done by immersion as if you're born, what we call born into the church, or born into the faith, like I was baptized at 8. So our baptisms take place at 8 years old for those who are kind of raised in the faith. For everybody else, it happens whenever they decide to convert to the faith. But it's always done by immersion essentially a big bathtub in a church building. Typically, well, if that's not available, then just a body of water, a community pool, a lake, anything.
I always thought it was fun to go into different churches and like see their baptism pool, because it's like they'll keep it shuttered, right, until it's baptism day, and it's always right by the piano. So then you open it up, and it's like we could have been chilling in this hot tub like every week, but like.
Time.
Yeah, I chose not to get baptized as a kid when I was old enough to, like, when my parents were like, you're old enough to get baptized, but don't do it unless you super mean it.
Yeah.
So I just never really felt like a deep connection with it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then I was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I was on like just a personal trip in South America, helping out. Stop me if I've told you this before. But I was working with a nonprofit organization in South America. I was out in the jungle. And the local priest, I asked him to baptize me in an Amazonian river, and I filmed it on my GoPro.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And how did you feel? I mean, how did you feel about that experience?
I felt amazing. Like, I felt like I waited for the right time.
Yeah.
And it kind of solidified. It was a magical experience. On the top of a mountain in a nice cold river.
Right.
Near just a little small encampment, and 30,000 feet in the air. It was awesome. Yeah,
that's amazing. So do you still identify as Christian?
That's a good question.
No.
Growing up, I had a sister that was 21 months older than me. She is now does not identify as a Christian.
Uh-huh.
And we were both raised Republican. We have now both I'd say shifted our political ideological idea. I'm trying to use fancy words. We're not Republican anymore.
Ideologies. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's very early. My brain's not working.
No, you're good. You're good.
And so I'm wrestling with how much of my faith has shifted along with my political beliefs.
Got it. Interesting.
And the last election raised a bunch of questions about leadership and the assignment of like religious leadership. Like, I didn't see how the faiths the values that I was taught as a child were represented in our leadership in the White House that we've had for the last 4 years. And I'm not trying to drag anybody into a political conversation.
I find that shocking, Isaac. I find that shocking.
I know people get all pissed off when you talk about religion and politics, and here I am just mixing them together.
I mean, well, it's not just you. There was actually a guy in Utah, I think it was Mike Lee, who talked about there's a beloved character, I guess, for lack of a better word, a prophet from our Book of Mormon named Moroni, who is like supposed to be a fantastic person, okay? And Mike Lee equivocated Donald Trump or President Trump to Moroni, which I personally found incredibly offensive. I can't even believe that. But there are people who believe that Donald Trump is sort of a savior for those in the faithful crowd, which I also find quite shocking. I just don't know how he got to that point. I don't understand that.
It's become a rift between my mother and I because
oh, sure,
it's my mother's a single issue voter, so she basically voted for Pence. If you are gonna do anything about abortion, she wants abortion to be illegal everywhere.
Interesting. Sure.
Which with her medical history, you would think that she would want to have nobody's opinion on her body but her own, but
yeah, I mean that's such a tough issue. It is a really tough issue.
Yeah, I looked up the stats and I tried to use this as an argument, but generally there's 600,000 abortions in the United States every year.
Right.
And we're currently at how many people dying of COVID?
300. I mean, if you round up, I think we're getting on to 300,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you, depending on how many people we lose from COVID, would you, in hindsight, have rather selected a leadership that would save those lives? Basically, I've just discovered that everybody's going to believe what they believe, and it's really hard to change their mind, and arguing with your family is not going to help.
Right. Yeah, I think there is an aspect of that is difficult. Yeah. I mean, when you start mixing, as you said, politics and religion, it gets really problematic.
Yeah.
Totally. Interesting. So I take it you're not quite to your sister's level of separation.
No, I haven't fully cut the cord. I'm still, I still listen to a podcast of a church that I feel like I'm a member of, but I've only been inside that building to go to church. But I feel like I'm a member of church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't fully gone like I'm not a Christian anymore, but I'm not out there waving a sign on the street corner either. So I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's, it sounds like a pretty healthy amount of Christian, right?
Yeah. I still feel bad when I swear on my podcast. And I just found out my youth pastor from high school watches the show now. So I feel even worse.
No pressure. That's great. Yeah.
So when I first started the show, I blocked everybody from my old church growing up. And I swore a lot on purpose. I'll do whatever I want.
Right.
Now,
classic
and then when I started comedy, and when I started comedy, I was like, I'm going to be a clean comic.
Sure.
Whew.
That's tough.
I mean, why not? If you're going to do the hardest thing in the world, why not do the other hardest version of the hardest thing in the world? So.
Yeah, I mean, there are clean comics, and then there are clean comics.
Yeah.
You're
clean. Yeah, you're clean. Yeah.
I'm clean-ish. I mean, I'm as clean as I want to be, I think.
That's all you can do.
I mean, that's all you can do. But I talk about I'm not suited for the Christian comedy circuit. I'll put it that way. I don't think I'm going to get kicked off of any college, but I'm not going to be making it in the Christian comedy circuit either.
Because of the differentiation between the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm sorry I messed that up. And
no, you're good.
What I will hopefully unoffensively call normal Christianity.
I think it's more that I joke about things that I find truly perplexing and funny, right? So I joke about transgender stuff, and I don't know that. I mean that's I will qualify it in the sense that what I'm saying is my joke is about my oldest daughter right now, who I secretly kind of hope would decide to be a boy in the future, because it's all, that's more biblical, having an oldest son. That makes more sense to me. I'm an oldest, so it fits, right? Yeah. So that's what I mean by, like, I don't make fun of transgender people.
It's not offensive. Yeah.
Joke about that idea. Okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't go over well in a church.
I don't think so either. I also make fun of people who believe in God, because it is silly. It does sound silly to an outsider. And I don't think they would like that either, So
no, they don't like that. Yeah.
There are aspects of my act that I would either have to cut out completely or really rework in order to make it on the Christian comedy circuit. But I'm not up there cursing up a storm or, telling just a bunch of dick jokes, right? So
did you watch Pete Holmes Crashing?
I have not yet. I really want to watch it, but I need to sit down and be able to focus on it. I might have to wait until all my kids are grown or something. I don't know.
It might be dated by then. I would give it a shot.
I got to.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not the first person to recommend that.
No,
show.
like everybody's like, hey, you have to watch Crashing.
Yeah.
And I think just for comedic knowledge, it's good. But
Yeah, and then when you meet Pete, you're gonna want to be like, "Oh, I like your show."
I mean, I'm gonna say that anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get into that. So you are still Christian. You
Yeah.
still
I
believe.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So my final two questions to you, and you can take these in either order you want. I'm curious about what you think the afterlife will be.
Mhm.
I'm also curious about what kind of pushed you away from being sort of wholehearted in the faith, or
Mhm.
maybe you never were, right? But I'm curious about that. Like, what is the separation for you? And then what is the afterlife like?
I'm going to answer the second question first, and then the
Beautiful.
afterlife second. And the first one is going to sound like the most pretentious thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
But growing up, you know how every church had like one special kid that was like, this kid's doing something, right? Like,
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
I got told that I was special a lot when I was a
Ooh.
kid, and
Okay.
that had, we would even go so far as to go to like religious vacations. We'd go to a Christian college and do like revival for a week, and
Yeah.
we were in it, right? And every
Wow.
time we'd go somewhere special, like the elders would be like, this boy right here, he's going to change something, and there
And
was
they were
always,
talking about you.
yes, there was this massive mandate about like, you are going to carry on this new wave of something. And it was it was a huge burden.
Sure.
Massive,
Now, what does
massive
revival mean? Sorry, before you get
revival. Like the term big tent revival, where like a preacher would go to a town, set up a tent, start preaching.
Yeah.
Revival for us was like a once a year thing in our normal church, or you could like basically pay to go to like a Christian college when it was out of session, and then a lot of churches would descend on that together, so it was more of like a fellowship kind of thing.
Got it.
And just a jazzy way of saying you guys got to come to church every day this week.
Got it.
And
All right.
we had revival at once a year, and we also had missions week once a year, and that's a whole like go to church every night kind of thing too.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So did you feel pressure to serve a mission for the rest of your life?
I was full on told that I was going to go through like the whole like youth pastor into missions / come back and change Christian music from the ground up kind of thing.
Gotcha. All right. So no big deal.
No big deal. Just like Christian music sucks and you're going to fix it.
Sure. Yeah.
What?
All right.
Yeah. It was a lot. I didn't mind the idea of being a youth pastor. Like that would have been cool. Yeah. But towards the first release into public school in 9th grade from private school, I just wanted to kind of see what the world was all about.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna be a youth pastor, I got to go see what drugs, sex, and rock and roll are like. So when I'm counseling kids later, I'm gonna know like, hey, well, it's not that great. You really don't want to do any of that stuff.
Right. Typical Satan lie. Right there.
Yeah.
You gotta try it first.
Yeah. And once you get a little taste, woo.
Sure.
And that's a slippery slope. So, that took the greater part of my 20s before it was like time to start slowly walking that back a little bit.
Got it.
Coming back to the faith a little bit.
Got it. Interesting. All right.
Yeah. So I'm special, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can understand, being kind of burned out of or shy away from this enormous responsibility, right? That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it's not too late, maybe I'll be
you could still change.
Yeah.
Music, you could change comedy, I mean, I guess, as pretentious as it sounds, that's sort of why I've decided to be a clean comedian. That's a big reason why I talk about religion in my act is religion gets a bad rap in stand-up, Usually it's making fun of people who believe in God. And then
everybody brings up Kinnison. He was like, he was a preacher and and he just totally flipped. It's like,
right.
Well, are there any other examples? Are there some people that maybe were on some drugs and decided to become?
Yeah, I mean, one is Pete Holmes, right? Pete Holmes sort of flips.
Yeah, I mean, I think he grew up like us in the church, and then I think he still would consider himself faith-based.
Oh, interesting. I get the sense from his podcast, and I might be wrong. I would love my pipe dream for this podcast is to interview Pete Holmes and really get into like what does he truly believe? So do you feel like you qualify for heaven given your errant ways in your 20s?
The only qualifications that we were mandated to enter the kingdom of heaven upon death was accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Got it.
If you just say the words, you're good to go.
Oh, so it was just saying them? What about truly believing them?
That's the whole conundrum, because they make you say them when you're a kid so early that like, are you covered? Or there have been times in my life where I have prayed and meant that.
Yeah.
But is it a daily thing? Like I don't pray every day. I don't think about it. Yeah. I think the opposite. I'm like, what if I have a day where I'm not really thinking down those lines, and then I get hit by a bus on that day? Like, is that day different than the day that I said it? Do I have to say it every day? Right. You know, so it's, I think, you know, after experimenting with hallucinogenics a little bit, I think that the universe is just a little bit bigger than we can understand.
Sure.
And I think that the black and white of heaven and hell is, I think it's going to be just a different experience than we can comprehend as human beings, and we have the ability to comprehend. So I think it was put in terms of something so vastly extreme and something vastly amazing, right? And making that choice. But I don't think that any of us can comprehend what's up next.
Got it. But there is an afterlife for you.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And you, I mean, as far as like what you think people will be doing there, were you taught sort of a, you know, harps and singing? Or I got the whole everybody gets a mansion, golden streets, we're gonna know everybody, but we won't have sexual identity. Oh really? So sex, gender, not part of the afterlife.
It was, I can't say that was specifically derived from the Bible, but I don't want to say that it's I don't want to speak for the church that I grew up in. Somewhere along the way someone programmed that into my little brain.
Got it.
But then I always thought it would be cool if everything that was taboo on earth was like wide open in heaven.
Sure.
Opposite day, it's like, well, if you held out down there, then you really get to enjoy everything up here.
Pay off upstairs, baby.
Yeah, all the drugs and everything. So,
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. That's amazing. All right. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could get behind that. Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of heaven there's going to be. I think that there's after reading Revelations, I think there's going to be a transitionary period. There's going to be a rapture. I don't know how much of that you're into, but rapture, 7 years of trial and tribulation, a new heaven, new earth, Armageddon, blah, 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 Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting close, but I used to want to be alive for the rapture. I didn't want to die.
Right. And you want to be caught up.
Yeah, I'm poof them out.
Right.
But now, with an adult thoughts, I'm like, what if I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time when I'm getting caught up? You know?
Sure. Right.
I'm in the restroom.
Yeah.
So, I'd rather die now.
Yeah, I think there is an aspect of knowing before the moment that is nice. That's appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
And then what was the second half of that question?
No, that was it. I think we got it. You know, sort of is there an afterlife? What are we going to be doing there?
Okay, cool.
I love it.
Yeah. We're going to be partying.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Sweet, man. Let's move to the final segment. What's the deal with Mormons with Isaac Heckert?
There's an H there, but I hate correcting people.
Oh, Heckert. So it is pronounced. It's an aspirated H. Got it.
Yeah. It's
Isaac
weird because I smashed my first and last name together. So when people read it for the first time, they say, Isaac Heckert.
I wasn't sure when we first met if it was a CH Isaac last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
I get it.
Anyhow,
it's all good.
Isaac
like,
Heckert.
What the heck with Isaac? That's what I was going to call my podcast. What the heck?
Ah, that's great.
Little play on other stuff. So I'm going to do I'm going to do you a multiple choice because I have a couple.
Love it.
So I don't know how much time you have.
Yeah, well, let's do it. Let's see which one. How deep we go.
All right. So in the spirit of Christmas, I want to know specifically how do Mormon families celebrate Christmas? That's one option. Yeah. Or no, we already talked about that. Second option is I'd love to hear what it was like to do your mission.
Oh, sure.
Do your mission, and specifically, do you still hang out with your homie that you had to go with, and you still have your bike?
Okay.
And then or your specific thoughts on the afterlife. So it's either
Got
Christmas,
it.
your mission, or afterlife. What do you think?
Love it. I think we can do all three. So
Oh,
first,
awesome.
Christmas. Very simple. We celebrate it very normally to the way everyone else celebrates it in the United States of America.
With a tree?
So we got the tree. We got,
Yep.
we typically put an angel on top. That's what we put up when I was growing up, but a star is fine. Star of Bethlehem. All the symbolism I think still works because it's a Christian mixed with pagan holiday anyway, right? But there's a lot of Christian overtones. So yeah, we get the tree, we get the presents, there's some members of my faith that talk to their kids about Santa and kind of maintain that illusion for however long. Some people are more fanatic about it than others.
Yeah.
I personally always knew Santa was fake. So I guess I should have said spoiler. If you've got kids listening to the podcast.
Oh man, there's a minivan in Utah right now that's just going nuts.
They're irate with me right now. My wife's dad, so my father-in-law, had essentially a faith crisis for a moment because of Santa. He was brought up to believe Santa was real. And when he found out Santa wasn't real, he then turned to his parents who had introduced him to the gospel. He was born kind of within the faith. And so he was like, well, you told me about Santa. What about Jesus? Is Jesus not real? So for my wife in particular, that's been a big reason why our kids have not ever believed in Santa Claus. For me, I just never really believed in Santa Claus either. And I do think, not that there's like this corporate war on the true meaning of Christmas, but I do think Santa Claus distracts from the Christian or, the Christ focus that should be about Christmas.
Sure.
But the spirit is fun, right? There's this guy that's giving out gifts. It's a fun thing. I don't think it's evil, but I'd rather focus on Jesus. So that's how we celebrate Christmas. Kind of typical stuff, right? My mission, there is a common misconception about the mission, which is we go with one other person, and that's not true. So I had...
Oh, really? I thought you was paired up and got shipped out.
Right. No. So you sign up, you kind of send in your papers. When I served, it was 19 was the age that young men went. Now it's 18. You fill out some paperwork that you send to church headquarters, and they send you back a letter with your kind of ship out date and where you're going. Okay. So I ended up serving in Montreal, or in Canada, Quebec, the province of Quebec. Yeah. Amazing.
Were you into comedy at the time?
No, but now I can't wait to go back. I gotta make JFL and be like, my people, mes peuples. Anyway, so you go alone. You go to what we call the MTC, which is Missionary Training Center. You walk through those doors with your parents, and then they leave, and you get a companion for the MTC. That afternoon. And then you're with that companion for the 9 weeks that you're in the MTC. For me, it was 9 weeks because we were also learning French in preparation to go to Quebec.
Where is the training center?
So we have a couple. The one that I went to is in Provo, Utah. There's also one in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So a lot of South America serving missionaries will go to Sao Paulo and learn
you get a
Portuguese.
Choice? Like, could you have gone to Brazil?
No, because they focus on Portuguese in the Brazil MTC. Right. So the Provo MTC is the larger one, which is where they teach a whole bunch of different languages. Everything from Finnish to Chinese, French. You get all the anyway. So that's the big one. That's where I went, Provo. So I grew up in Orem. I drove 5 minutes with my parents to the Provo MTC. They dropped me off with my suitcases that I would have for the next 2 years, and that was it.
Wow.
So you get a companion in the MTC, and MTC is arranged by language, typically also by mission. So like everyone I served with was either going to Quebec or to a French-speaking mission. My companion was going to, now I can't remember. I think it was Belgium.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Anyhow, point is, we separated after those 9 months. I got a new companion. The first companion in the field is called your trainer. So I had a trainer for about 6 weeks, as I recall. Maybe it was 12. Every transfer is 6 weeks, and I think I was with my trainer for 2 transfers. So I think 12 weeks. And then you're kind of moved around. Every spot you go, you get a new companion. So I had, over the course of my mission, I think I had like 12 companions. I don't remember.
Wow.
So a lot of different guys that I served with, lived
You
with.
talk to any of them still?
Yeah. There's a handful that I still keep in touch with for sure.
Man,
yeah.
The movies make it seem like you get one dude and that's it, and you guys are like locked in homies.
Right. I mean, I think so. In the earlier days of the church, there was a lot of that, where it was just, you knew this guy from your hometown, and you guys were sent out together, and you would go and teach, and then you'd come back. There was a little bit of that kind of in early missions, where missionaries were going to a new place, kind of for the first time to teach the gospel.
Right.
And so they were kind of sent, and they would they would teach together for however long. Now it's been so organized, and the church is big enough now that that's not as often or as necessary. So now you switch around a lot. There's a lot of moving, a lot of switching. Yeah.
So if you get stuck with somebody you don't like, boom.
Kind of
6
wait.
weeks later, you got a new one.
Wait it out. Right. I mean, there were some experiences where, missionaries just really didn't get along with their companion, or their companion would do something, or they would do something that was outside of mission rules, and there had to be certain changes made. But that was pretty rare in the mission that I was. I loved my mission experience, all in all. We did not convert that many people. But, as I was taught growing up, the most important person to truly convert was yourself. So I looked at my mission as a mission or a time period of self-discovery largely. And if I happened to be able to bring the Holy Spirit to others, and they felt inclined to join my faith, great. That was the ultimate goal. But, or I guess a side goal that would be really nice and special and part of our purpose out there. But I really just wanted to kind of solidify my faith.
Well, that's awesome. I've never heard it put that way before. So that gives me a lot to think about. Yeah.
So, and I enjoyed it. And there were a few people that I ended up baptizing after teaching. And that was, those were really magical experiences. Some of them have stayed in the faith, and some have not. Life happens to people, and they tend to make different decisions. But yeah, it was a very beneficial time of my life. Not for everybody. I don't think I mean, when I was growing up, I was taught every worthy young man serve a mission, and I believed that until I think a few years ago, where I heard about, and honestly, on my mission, I guess, really is when that changed too. There were a lot of people who I saw that served because that was the call to action. And I think if they'd gone about it in the right way, it might have been fine. But I think I guess the way I should put it is, there are a lot of different ways to serve.
Right.
And I wish that there had been more open discussion about kind of service missions for people, where they go to kind of maybe less far away places, or go with a different purpose, not proselyting. I was on a proselyting mission, but there are missions in the United States where they are tour guides for, church history sites that very needed. I have a cousin that essentially did a lot of record keeping work and tours at church headquarters in Salt Lake City for his mission, and perfect experience for him.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So
I have been to your headquarters and taken the tour.
Oh yeah, sure. It's very fun. So I think in that sense, yeah, everybody should. And if you're in my faith and you're of mission age, you should definitely serve a mission. I would explore different ways to serve. You know, if you don't want to proselyte, or if you don't feel emotionally, mentally up for proselyting, which is tough,
Yeah.
then do something else, you know?
Yeah. Are there like practical ways to serve? Is like, can you go somewhere and like be the air conditioning guy for something, or like work on the fleet of vehicles and be a mechanic, or
Sure.
or like be a chef or a cook for people, or can you do stuff like that?
Yeah, not really. There are, you know, I mean, you can always get employed with the church and kind of take a little bit of a pay cut to do some service things like that, right, in different areas. But as far as like missions, what we call a mission is typically a proselyting or 100% service. And those, you know, it's usually two camps. You're either young or you're a senior missionary. So, some of this like car mechanic stuff I can see happening for a senior couple, you know, a husband-wife team, retired or close to retirement. For the younger people, you know, you don't have as much life experience or a trade that you're doing. So it's more focused on either general service or proselyting service.
Right.
Yeah. And then your last question, I don't know if that sufficiently answered your missionary question.
I could ask you about your mission for like 3 more full hour-long episodes, because it fascinates me so much.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to talk. We'll just have to talk offline even.
Yeah. We'll have to do it in Montreal for Jeff.
Man, that would be amazing. I would love that. I would love
We're going for sure. Even if we don't perform, we'll just go.
Just hop on a plane.
You know? Take a week off from your family, right? Let's just go.
That'll be fine. Yeah, that'll be fine.
My last question was about the afterlife, but I feel like we can maybe hit that another time.
Afterlife, I think, can be pretty simple. Well, it's simple to me, but it's probably going to blow your mind. So
yeah, I mean, we touched on it last time, and I've been thinking about it ever since. So,
the fun fact that people sometimes know, because it's so out of this world, is that, you know, in my faith, we believe husband, wife, that gender is important. Number one, gender is something that's eternal. And that you're meant to go to heaven with your spouse. So my wife and I, our goal is to make it to heaven and become Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother to a whole other crop of spirit children and people, and create worlds. You know, that's the goal. That's what the afterlife hopefully will be. There are different, I guess, states of being in heaven, or levels of heaven, that are described in our Doctrine and Covenants, which was a book largely written by Joseph Smith, revelations that he received while organizing the church and translating the Book of Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
And they describe different levels of heaven. So celestial is the top. That's what I've just described, which is where you go and make worlds with your spouse. Terrestrial is the middle, which is good people, but not great people, okay? Telestial is like who you would send to prison, okay? And this, you know, on earth, it's everyone incarcerated. They're going to the telestial kingdom, not hell.
Still sounds pretty nice.
Right. And then Mormon hell, for lack of a better term, we call outer darkness. In order to go there, which is the typical biblical weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth, you have to have a perfect knowledge of Jesus Christ, that he exists, that he performed the atonement as he claims, and then deny it, and also teach other people that it's a lie. So you have to draw other people away from Christianity, away from their faith.
Oh, you got to row up river on that one.
Yeah, you got to really be sort of spiritually evil, right? You have to know that it's true, that it's real, and then convince other people that it is not real.
Right.
So very few people, we think, in the grand scheme of things, in the trillions of people that will have lived on this earth, very few of them are going to outer darkness.
Would other variations of Christianity or Catholicism be considered? Do you include them in your? In like, are they preaching against your stuff?
No.
They don't have other books.
Right. No, I believe as long as people are trying to be better people,
Mhm.
then we're all on the same team.
Man, you guys sure get a bad rap for what you actually believe. Like, that sounds awesome.
I think so. I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, the other aspect of our faith is the afterlife, because not everybody is born, think about the billions of people in China that don't know about Christ.
Right.
Africa don't know about Christ. A lot of these people, it's sort of like, well, luck of the draw, then you don't go to heaven. Well, no, there's a lot of work that we do in our temples for people after they die. So because we believe in an afterlife, we do certain things on this earth to try to help or influence people standing in the afterlife. So two things: agency, like our ability to choose, very important, and eternal in my faith. So even though you die, you still have ability to make choice in the afterlife. So we do what we call baptisms for the dead in our temples for people who have passed on and did not get baptized into our faith in this life, giving them the option, if they want, to accept that ordinance for themselves in the afterlife. So even if you have no idea who Jesus Christ is, have no idea that, Joseph Smith restored the true church, then you have the option to join that church in the afterlife.
That's very benevolent of you guys. Like, hey, there's some folks
so.
that missed it. Like, let's shoot out some stuff that gives somebody a second parachute. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Right.
That doesn't exist in Baptist world.
Right.
You're gonna burn. You're gonna get hot, right? Like 5 minutes before you die, you start to get warm because you're gonna burn in hell. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, is some of that because of people's choices or actions before this life? Is it sort of like, well, you were good, so you were born into a place that has our faith? Or is it like, you were terrible, so you're born in, I don't know.
It's not works based. It's like you could be the worst person in the world, and 4 seconds before you die, you go, I accept Jesus as my Savior.
Grace of God.
Boom.
Right.
Then you get it.
Right. I have real issues with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like you could kick that one around a couple different ways if you want to.
Right. I mean, I understand. I feel like I understand the sentiment of it, but I just don't know how I guess it's kind of nice to believe in, but the inverse is really awful, right? You could be a really good person, not know about Jesus, and then you're doomed. And that's the part that really doesn't sit well with me. That I think our church has, I think it's a better version for me. I like that. That feels more right to me.
There's a lot of things that I like about what you guys are doing that I wish we would incorporate into, I hate saying regular Christianity, but that's...
Well, there's a very easy way to incorporate this into your life, Isaac. And
you're not going to flip me on your podcast.
I'll send two of my friends. They'll bring a book. It'll be great.
It's so mafia. It's like, hey, I know a couple of guys. I'm going to send them to your house.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure we work this out.
Right. Absolutely. And if you pay 10% of your income, it's protection money. So.
Wow. But you're telling me I can get a couple of goons to follow me around for only 10% of all of my wealth?
I mean, they won't follow you around, but they'll keep tabs on you. Yeah. They'll call you.
That would be cheaper than hiring background actors and giving them white shirts and buying them Huffy bikes.
Yeah, that would be
10% of what I currently have.
Right.
Ain't a lot.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal.
All this fantastic podcast money.
Rolling in.
Yeah.
Rolling in.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So I think we just have to talk again at some point, Isaac. But it's always so nice to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me plug my thing. And
Absolutely. Plug it one more time. You're doing a Christmas special.
Yeah, Christmas Eve. We are going live for anybody that doesn't have anything to do, or maybe you're quarantining alone. You just want some interaction with some people on the internet. Join us on Facebook or YouTube at Misty and Ike is where you can find us. Leading up to that, we have a daily episode every morning at 7 o'clock, 15 minutes of pop culture awesomeness, over 100 episodes to check out. And we'd love for you to join us, man. Don't be alone on Christmas. Come join us. We'd love to have you. We'll sing a carol.
And you're watching Home Alone?
Yeah, we're going to watch, we're going to just hang out for 30, 45 minutes, and then we're going to watch Home Alone. And if there's still enough people in the stream, we may watch the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Christmas Story.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Ooh, so good. Wife and I watched that last Christmas
Yeah.
Amazing. Instant classic for us.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I love it. I
film.
just drove by Nagatomi Tower the other night. Just to get a picture of it for the promo.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. What a fun
Yeah.
movie. That's so fun. And what a great idea. No one should be alone for Christmas.
No.
Even during a pandemic, find a way to connect.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is the true silver lining to the pandemic is I think, a lot of people have kind of gone away from God over the pandemic because how could a loving God do this?
Mm-hmm.
I think, this is one of those things that happens, but it's amazing to me that it's happened when we have such technology.
Right.
This is beautiful. We could not have sustained a pandemic like this mentally as a race of humans 20, 30 years ago, right?
No.
I mean, it would have been really tough.
But we did in 1917 to 1919 when this hit the first time.
I mean, it was different.
It was, but they wore masks.
Different, and we also had World War I. There were a lot of terrible things going on.
That was the super spreader event. We almost got it under control, and then the war ended, and all the troops came back and spread it around. But have you seen the meme where it's Egyptians be like, and they're looking at us having one plague, and it's just one because they got 12.
That's great. Well, is it really their fault? They could have stopped the plagues at any time.
That's right. Does that mean that there's somebody out there that's messing around and needs to get right? And then we all...
I mean, I know a lot of people think that this plague is Donald Trump's plague. I don't think he deserves that much credit.
No, it's clearly...
On either end of the thing.
He calls it the China virus, so it's definitely not his fault.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Kung flu. I mean, how do you get around a world leader making a pretty stellar stand-up joke like Kung flu? How do you get around that?
I don't think he wrote that. I can't give him credit for that. I think he heard it enough on Twitter and he just regurgitated it.
I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe that was the case.
If he wrote Kung flu, I would change my vote. Because then there's actually a witty guy in there.
I don't know. Are we going to have a funnier president? Joe Biden is not going to be funnier. I tell you that right now.
No, but this is what I told people the other day that were a little upset about Trump not winning. I was like, listen, country just needs sleepy Uncle Joe, Grandpa Joe to read us a bedtime story for a couple years because we've just been in a heightened state for a little while. So we need Uncle Joe and Auntie Kamala to come and just settle us down for a little bit.
We do need to settle down. I mean, at least half of us need to settle down.
Right.
At least half.
Every 4 years we get to switch.
Yeah.
Different rage issues.
Yeah. Well, Isaac, this has been awesome. Everybody join Isaac and Misty on Christmas Eve for Home Alone, a fantastic Christmas movie where the only scene that bothers me in that entire movie is the mac and cheese scene. Why can't he eat it? Drives me insane.
I'm going to have to look out for that. I don't remember it.
You'll see it. You'll see it this time and you'll notice and you'll be like, oh, that is infuriating. My wife and I have this shared pet peeve of people in movies not eating the food that they have prepared in front of them. So. Oh,
I hate that too.
Yeah. So this will happen. You'll watch it now and you'll think of me when this occurs. All right. Isaac, thank you so much, man.
Did you just froze up for a second.
Gosh darn it. So you'll think of me at the mac and cheese scene. I can't wait. I can't wait. Anyway.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Sweet, man. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Later. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.